Hello everyone. So today I'm going to demonstrate the concept of so-called adaptive learning or adaptive roadmaps. So I actually found really good definition of this process so that we know exactly what we're talking about. So an adaptable planning process is a process that allows long-term planning to change as needed to maximize value based on new learning, emerging customer needs, evolving competitor capabilities, and advances in technology. So in order to demonstrate this concept in regards to software development, I'm going to use a deep planner, the tool that actually implements adaptive roadmaps, right? So let's get started. So here on our screen, we can see the roadmap, which already has some items planned for Q1 2026, right? So we can see some epics here, creating an interface, adding some controls, and implementing the tool for securing text files, right? So this roadmap is already complete and we can follow that roadmap. But what if some requirements and some of this, we receive some of the new learning, right? Like how this definition describes it, right? We receive some new learning that can affect this roadmap, which we already planned for Q1 2026, right? And right now it's the beginning of 2026, so we still have a chance to replan the items, reschedule the items that we already planned for the future. So let's go ahead and go over some of the use cases. So first of all, what new learning we can receive that can affect the roadmap, like the epics, right? So epics can change. So these items, these features that are on the roadmap can change. For example, their estimate can change. So let's go ahead and try to change an estimate and see how it affects the roadmap. So we click edit. So edit mode just allows us to experiment with the changes and to see how they affect the roadmap before actually saving those changes to the roadmap, right? And here we can manipulate these epics. We can change their priority. We can change the scope of this quarter, right? And on a preview, we can see how that will affect the actual roadmap. So in our case, we need to adjust the epic estimate for one of those epics in order to accommodate this new learning. Let's say the estimate of undo redo controls to the ribbon item changed, and by estimate we mean high level estimate, right? Like not the low level estimate, right? So let's go ahead and go to that epic, um, and let's adjust an estimate here. So here we can see that we have an estimate that, consists of testing, business requirements, development, right? That was provided by our technical team before the milestone started so that we can understand what high-level expectation we have for that ticket, right? Let's change that estimate, for example, for development from 5 to 15 man days required to implement this epic. Let's save it. So when we go back to that screen, it actually automatically adjusts our roadmap to this new reality, right? Like by adopting this new knowledge, and we can see that the dates for delivery for this epic have adjusted, and so have adjusted the dates of other epics that follow this basically epic that we changed the date from, right? And we can see that the roadmap had automatically adjusted, so it's adapted to this new requirement of the new estimate for this epic, right? And since this change is for the future, it doesn't affect the existing development process, right? Like the existing development, it remains the same, and teams, they continue to work on their tasks. It's just the future item has changed, and some dates have shifted in deliveries, right? Let's go ahead and look at the next item is, for example, we have a change in priorities, right? Let's say we have now a priority of the ticket of like ability to encrypt the text file with password. Let's say it now switches in priority, and now it's higher in priority. Let's say it goes right after the priority of creating an interface, right? Because it has a direct dependency. So let's go ahead and make that adjustment so that we can see adopt the change in priorities, right? In order to do that, we just go to the list of epics for this time box and just basically drag and drop this particular item, which we talked about, the encrypt the text file with password, to basically the top of the list. It would be the second after creating an interface. And let's see how our roadmap changes. So as we can see, this item is now the second in priority, right? And all the items that follow it, they actually shifted in priorities. They are now after this item on this roadmap on the schedule, right? So as you can see, the roadmap automatically adopted the change in priority and reflected it on this timeline. Next possible change that we can foresee here is, for example, we can add a new team, right? Like, for example, a new team was added to development, and we now need to accommodate the change in this roadmap, right? So it's actually quite easy. We go to editor, and let's say we have team Tiger assigned right now, and let's add one more team here so that we could see how the change can affect the roadmap, right? So adding a new team. Let's go to preview. Okay, we assigned a new team, and we can see that some of the items are now can be done in parallel, right, between those teams. And so the timelines have optimized, and now we need less time to implement that roadmap, right? Like less time to deliver those items. So the roadmap again automatically adopted the change like by our instructions, right? And another kind of thing is what we can do here is we can actually adjust the capacity of the team. Let's actually go ahead and adjust the capacity of both teams and make them like twice as capacity as they are right now. So we're talking about teams Eagles and Tigers, right? So let's go ahead and do it. Okay, now that we're back, we can see that the schedule has squeezed, right? And now we can see that we need even less dates, less time to implement those changes, to implement that roadmap, right? Before we commit to that schedule, we can actually review these changes just to make sure that our experiments make sense. We can see what changes we made to the schedules, and then we can commit those changes to the roadmap. So that is basically it, right? So you can see the concept of the adaptive roadmaps is very simple. You just change the roadmap based on the new inputs and automatically adjust according to the new data.